Gather around, travelers, gather around, and listen to the tale of Nema-Teeka, a snakish and yet peckish man, soon to be a passenger of Space Station 14. As you may tell, he is a man of the snake variety, pithing his way through life. He was dressed for the job of zookeeper, but sadly, they refused him, and he had to come on board as a passenger. His tale is one of anguish, terror, and yet a fight for survival. Hopefully, you shall follow me during these times. His story starts Planetside, awaiting the next shuttle to the space station in which he will work. Here, he finds himself accompanied by a traveler. They engage in a brief conversation, but the other passenger seems less accepting of his new comrade. Sitting down in the now arrived shuttle, they attempt to engage in a brief conversation, only run out of air. They both gasp at the lack of oxygen until his seatmate informs him of their soon-to-be demise. Ha! The shuttle is cut off, and they have nowhere left to go. Under the stress of the event, they attempt to run away, only to be flung out, hitting their destination, the space station. With no ways of obtaining oxygen and no nearby signs of life, he eventually succumbs and perishes alone in the middle of space. Wait. It's already done? There's no way that's how that goes. I must have picked up the wrong book. Give me one moment. Here it is. This is it, I'm certain. Whoa. I might as well finish this one first, I guess. But who's going to continue it? Meet Jerry. He is, or at least was, a security officer for Space Station 14. However, things have taken a dark turn during his time of duty, and decisions had to be made. The station had been infested with traitors, and they could have been any amongst the 100 passengers involved. Because of this, he decided it was a good idea to gun down half the station, aiming to thin their numbers. Whether this was in a panic, an act of self-survival, or pure murderous bliss, we will never know. However, this has led to one small problem. Jerry just happens to be haunted by the entire station, and they are filling his thoughts with even more murder. He stands in a small spaceship, on way to what must be a safer destination, and he can't seem to trust the only passenger left. The ghosts do not provide much sanity as well, as they are focused on delivering him to his final murder. They keep questioning each other endlessly, perhaps in an attempt to figure out if one amongst them is evil, during which Jerry also ends up detailing his countless crimes. He also finds, much to his luck, a loaded gun. His instincts are now triggered, and as soon as they reach their safe haven, he implements his final plan. Under the brighter lights of safety, he unloads the newly obtained weapon into his companion and commits his final crime. Now alone, in a safer station designed for hundreds, but stationed by one, he commits his final act. He bites his own tongue and delivers himself from this mortal realm. This might have been done due to guilt, or even just as a final revenge against the voices now haunting him, but that is something we will never know. Now, where was I? Ah, yes, Nema-Teeka. Well, his next story isn't as bloody as this one, but it's still something to see. A life full of shock, investigation, and a clown? Well, I guess we'll see how that goes.
Welcome to the station, crew. Enjoy your stay.
Awakening amongst his fellow passengers, Nema takes a good look at who's with him. Although most scurry off to certainly help others, as is their job, some stay back to gather supplies and prepare for their work. One starts a conversation with him. "Hey, Snake Man," he says. That is offensive, Nema replies. All is quickly understood, however, and they soon become the best of friends. This man goes by Roman Leander, and soon becomes an important part of the story. After gathering all the required tools, although with a bit of difficulty due to some missing floor, he moves forward to complete his job alongside his newly made friend. After moving through the hallways of a station and questioning any nearby people if they require assistance, they move on to Medbay, where danger must surely float about. They are, however, not the best at following directions, and end up at the library. Here, they find a sloth named Paperwork, who is conducting their duties most perfectly, although with a bit of slowness. Nema's curiosity quickly turns to hunger, but his newly acquired friend disapproves of this, and so they move on. Upon being ignored once more, and in multiple other locations, they finally find a place to help. The botany has ran into several issues with their seed production, and now require exotic seeds that only cargo can provide. I shall fight, Nema says, while his compatriots seem more focused in other matters. Nevertheless, they move on to their objective. Upon arriving to cargo, they scream out, "Cargo!" to inform them of their arrival. "Yo," says the man behind the counter. "I require exotic seeds," we respond back. The man quickly goes to the back and checks for any remaining seeds. While our friends remain steadfast with their task of eating the previously passed clown, which injured them severely, we focus on our task and obtain the information we desire. The seeds will arrive soon, and all will be good in the world. Returning to botany, they inform their quest giver of the obtained information. "The exotic seeds are coming," we say. "Nice and sweet," they respond. Congratulating themselves for a job well done, they decide to go to the bar and have a celebratory ale. They are quick to find, however, that the bar is slightly packed, owned by a grumpy bartender, and contains a suspicious nuclear bomb placed in the middle. They are assured, however, that this is normal, even with a nearby passenger obtaining what they call a bomb drink, or nuclear bomb. But that is quickly dropped onto the floor, leaving a nearby man sobbing for his fallen drink. Someone does arrive to cheer him up with free plushies, though these do little to stifle the pain. Things start to escalate, a fight brewing in the middle of the bar, and a knife being thrown over the counter. The madness of the situation quickly gets to Nema's head, with his more basic instincts taking over, and leaving him chasing after the nearby hamster. "Hamlet! Hamlet!" he screams. "Butcher him!" he screams even louder than before. With the door open and nothing stopping him from his target, he grabs him in a fit of rage. This does not last long, however, and the little creature flees back before harm can be done. He does, however, end up running the bar, which calms the situation. This happened because the bartender, previously very grumpy, finally got sick of his clients and left, which was pretty lit, as the kids say. The hamster wasn't the best at his job, however, and we did have to get back to help him. So off we went. Suddenly, a security officer runs in, all while being chased by a space adder, a deadly space snake. The officer manages to take him down, although not without some shots hitting innocents, and the bar quickly erupts in cheers. This event quickly fades Nema's mind, as he finds himself transported to another location. Huh? Had he stepped on a portal, hidden right in the middle of the bar? Oh no. Could this be drugs, or some cult attempting to drain him of his blood? Sadly, none of these happened. with it only being a silly trap left by another passenger. This did, however, lead to a new adventure, which could not be found on the bar, leaving our friend, who was having an encounter with the famous clown. We left to find more people to help. This, strangely, led us right back to Botany, who happened to require more assistance. Someone had stolen the seeds we'd obtained. How could they? We need a detective or something, says the man in Botany. Ah, this semi-detective snake thing, I say. Tasked with what was perhaps the greatest quest I had ever been given, I continued on my way to Cargo, where the seeds were last seen. Quickly heading to Cargo, and having donned a new hat stolen from some random room, he comes across several anomalies in the location. Cargo! He screams out, as the locker next to him blazes a color so profound it shatters everyone's eyes. What? They scream back, the locker continuing its mysterious light show. Attempting a conversation next to the anomaly proves difficult, which leads them to shout at each other from across the rooms. Cargo finds that they have no more seeds in the back, and prove themselves helpful by ordering some more for the detective. Another man appears, placing a portal in front of the cargo doors. That must have been the man that placed them in the bar, although he seems less threatening than expected. While Nemo waits for the seeds, the man takes his chances and walks inside Cargo, and disappears further into their facility. I now see how they could have stolen the seeds, but for what purpose? That is, however, a problem for an actual detective, and not Nema. More and more things happen while we wait, with a man shocking the cargo door, another space adder appearing nearby, and a woman bringing in what she claims is a bomb, although it does not seem to explode. All of these events have left him hurt, and requiring some healing from more professional sources. As such, he has ambition to the medbay before he can continue his detective duties. A quick stop at the bar shows it is still a mess, and does not seem to be getting any better. The clown and our old friend are still engaged in what can only assume is a long-standing duel. Having received healing for his wounds, Nema returns to Botany to ensure of his success. With a bit of delay and a few drinks of beer, our final question is answered. Did you get my exotic seeds yet? I asked. We got 2 shipments, they explained. They had indeed received 2 shipments, instead of the usual one due to my addition, and gave me many thanks for it. Seeing it as a job well done, and with no perpetrators found, which would be left for another actual detective, he decides to explore more of the station in search of other helpers. After slapping a passing man who had been shocking all the station doors, and nearly being apprehended for it, he finds another section of the station he had not yet been to. Upon searching its corridors, he eventually found the strangest of things. An artifact carried by its monkey companion, who was capable of granting any wish to the user. Impressed by its powers, and some could say having fallen in love with it at first sight, he decided to examine it for a better understanding. It seemed to have taken the shape of a red gem, with a stand beneath it to hold it in all of its glory. It was carried around by its followers, and, with some strange power, could also grant these powerful wishes. This eventually led to a small scuffle with the previous monk, who must have assumed me as some sort of enemy. But this ended upon the artifact coming closer to me. Had he heard the whisper of my wish? Was it finally the day he could turn into a lizard? Truthfully, this had always been a dream of his. Having been born out of a lizard father and human mother had always left him feeling like a stranger to both worlds. Perhaps this could solve his issues. You want to be a lizard? The artifact asks in a powerful tone. Yes, I respond back. Then you must wish, he says. With those words, time seemed to slow down. Nema wished and wished again to be a lizard until the artifact would accept his words as gospel. And then he became all that he had wished. Finally, his dreams had come true, and he was all that he ever wanted to be. His happiness and bliss was only overshadowed by a slight gut feeling. Shortly after, he was turned back into the Snake Man. Although his grief and misery were high, the artifact gave him a harmonica and taught him that happiness did not come from being a lizard, but from within their hearts. With no knowledge of how to play the harmonica, he took his words of wisdom with him and left to continue his exploration. This led to the Church of Narsi, where a satanic altar stood at its forefront, and many sacrifices surrounded it. Truthfully, I counted as many as 400 cockroaches and 200 snails, although the man who had joined him claimed these were not sacrifices, but random critters and bugs that had appeared. As a detective, he thought it suspicious for him to be here, as he had been here long before Nema's arrival. Attempting to gain more information, he struck up a conversation with him, where he confessed to not be the chaplain overseeing the church, but it was interrupted by a floating man passing through the window out in space. Both of them found it odd, which gave him the opportunity to leave into a secluded room at the back of the church. Following him, he heard sounds of splatter from behind the door where he had gone. When it opened, he was horrified to see that the man had sliced up a monkey and was offering him as another sacrifice to his god. "Praise be, Narsi!" he exclaimed. Attempting to fit in fear of also being offered as a sacrifice, he showed him how agreeable he was. "I'm okay with this," I softly said. He still kept his distance, in case the false chaplain attempted something unexpected. He tried to explain it as tradition, but it was not one Nema had heard of before, and the slowly dying monkey on the pedestal seemed less than accepting of this. With the power having gone out, he took the chance to flee from the location, hoping to never find what was there again. Coming out of the church, and with the power now restored, he found his beloved, the artifact, once more. However, he was being assaulted by a bunch of hooligans, promising him a safe place, which he did not want to go to. The artifact saw him walk in and, as if foretold by destiny, asked Nema to take him away from his enemies. This started the pulling war against the hooligans, who continuously attempted to drag him away into their so-called safe space, which Nema eventually won. He ran down the left corridor with him, but they took chase and eventually caught up. With no other options, they started attacking the artifact, attempting to end it before it could be safe from their devious hands. He could not, no, he would not stand for this. He let the artifact go free and started to fight off the invaders while it watched. He was, however, outnumbered and, sadly, unable to defeat them and save his princess. While lying on the floor, he could hear them beat the artifact to death while it shouted and screamed at his loss against the hooligans. The pain was not enough to dissuade him from protecting it, and those cries at his loss were enough to make it all worthwhile. As his vision dimmed, his body was dragged away from the conflict and into the medical bay. With much work from the doctors, he was able to come back from the near-death experience. However, he had only one thought on his mind. "Is the artifact okay?" I screamed with fear. "No," the man next to me responded. He then stated lies of how the artifact was evil, and it had used its powers for murder and greed. But Nema knew it all not to be true. Behind those powers was a misunderstood gem, just looking for some love. Having been returned to life, and now depressed over the potential loss of his love, Nema decided to go to the bar. Here, he saw that it had become more organized, with the chef and bartender being back into their positions, and the chef having arranged for a mighty meal at the counter. Eating all that he required during his time of grief took so long that he did not notice that the station had massively dipped in temperature. As they say, once a snake starts to eat, it is hard to notice things changing. This was, however, a problem for Nema. As a lowly passenger, he had no idea where to get started on the freezing temperatures. Who could save him from this disaster and put him warm and safe again. Ah! The scientists must have developed something. Some type of torch, or mobile campfire, or just a really hot robot. He quickly moved to their section, found the man of science, and asked,
Do you guys have anything to keep warm?
We packed some heat, he responded. He was glad to see they had all the answers to his problems, as was expected. The scientist went deeper into the section and quickly returned sporting an orange tube. Nema was initially surprised, as he did not expect such a small object to help with his devastating cold. But his surprise quickly turned to something else. Having been released from medbay due to an unknown and unfortunate incident, which he just couldn't seem to remember, he decided to retrace his steps. Nema's objective had been to go to science and obtain something to heat him up during this extreme cold.
So that's what I'll do again,
he thought. There, he found the scientist willing to help with his awful condition, though he did seem to say, "This time it'll work," when he saw him, which was odd. He quickly went deeper into the facility, returning with a promise of heat if we followed him. He seemed trustworthy enough, and no man of science had wronged him in the past, so Nema followed him to an old and known location, the bar. Here, we found the security guard, the aim of our shared quest. The scientist explained his situation and asked the guard to do us a favor of testing his cold-resistant product on him. The product seemed bullet-shaped and appeared to have the words "flaming bullets" on, but he knew that was only a container and that the real product would be much less deadly. The guard, however, seemed less pleased with the idea, stating that it required the approval of HOS before we could find another comrade willing to test the product on him, and the scientist ended up exploding ice upon sneezing, killing a passenger passing by. This, sadly, led to the end of his look for the cure, although now Nema had other problems to deal with. A long-lived enemy of his happened to be in the same location, the dreaded and fearful clown. He who had injured his best friend, which he had not seen in a while, and had committed many more atrocities against the people of the station. In a fit of rage, he threw a bottle of an unknown fluid on him, damaging him slightly. He did not seem perturbed, however, and invited him and another to test out one of his contraptions.
Don't trust his evil words,
I said back, but his companion seemed more interested in the clown than the truth, which meant he did not care for what Nema had said. As an attempt to prove his evilness, I dared to try his contraption first, and prove that he is, in fact, an evil clown. Forced into the disposal chute, I was shot around the corner of the bar multiple times. He saw now. This clown wasn't evil at all. He's just trying to give everyone an amazing experience. This contraption was amazing, and joy came out of his mouth like when he had been turned into a lizard. The companion soon joined him, hearing his screams of pleasure, as he also wanted to be part of the experience. That was when both shot out of the tube into a dimly lit room in the corner of the bar. It contained only a chair, a piano, and the chute in which they had come in. Outside, a camera was placed to film them in their trapped state. The clown's true face appeared then, and only then, as he asked them to play him a song to escape this dreaded room. Nema was filled with anger at the discovery, and attempted to ruin his plans by retaliating against the piano and the glass in which they were trapped. "We're live," he said, as he pointed at the camera, looking into the room.
Show them this.
I said back in anger, and hit the piano again. The clown thought nothing of it, however, and kept taunting us from the other side of the glass. With no other option, Nema had to get rid of his remaining dignity and sing him a song for his freakish little enjoyment. He sang a song from long ago, one his mother had sung him in snakish tongue, and hoped that it would be enough to free them from their prison. Allowed to exit by his tormentor, cursed him with the strength of the only god he had ever known. If only he could remember his name. Under the pressure of the curse, and perhaps of his continued madness when building the prison, the clown decided that a life inside of his own trap would be better than one outside. Now stuck, he played a beautiful tune in the same piano where Nema had tried and failed. This tune was both beautiful and mad, half the display of the clown's life up until this point, which only made it even more beautiful when the true god descended. Immediately, Nema remembered his name, and his beautiful roar had told him that Narsi was the one who had descended and who he had cursed him by. He offered a praise to the descent of his nature and departed to the soul realm to get a glimpse of his visage. What he saw there was all that needed to be seen. And that's the actual story of Nema-Teeka. And wow, did it have a lot of random side quests in it, huh? I didn't even know that god existed. Well, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stories like this, or just more gaming content in general. Bye bye!